Brady, where are we going? What are we doing?
I said I would never do this, and I talk so much shit, but I'm gonna go get a Sony camera.
A what?
A Sony camera, man.
Oh my god.
Don't make me say it any louder. I don't even think I was this excited when I switched to Fuji. And I've talked so much trash about Sony that I can't believe I'm this excited.
Sony A7IV, 24 to 70 G Master.
G Master version, deuces.
2.
Well, there you have it. I am a Sony shooter now. Never thought I would say those words, but here we are. So a lot has changed in my life. If you followed my last videos, you can tell this isn't where I filmed before. I moved actually about a month ago, and I told myself, you know what? I have all these videos scripted. After I move, I'll make my video. And then I moved. And then I told myself, you know, once I get settled, I'll make my video. And then I got settled, and then life just kept happening, and to the point where now I'm a Sony shooter, and I figured I might as well make an update video. It's been a hot minute. So, this is it. I shoot Sony now. I sold all my Fujifilm gear, and I'm now a alpha shooter. Burning question is, why did I switch to Sony? I shot Canon before. I was pretty happy with Fuji. Why did I ditch all that and shoot Sony? Well, a little bit of backstory. So I used to go shoot landscape photography all the time with a guy that shot the A7 III. I would compare my images on Canon to his images, and 10 times out of 10, I preferred his images. Same composition, usually the same type of lens, but I always just preferred his images, even when editing. And I know they say when you shoot raw, it doesn't matter, but he would give me his images and I would edit the Sony images he shot and then my Canon images, and every single time I preferred the look of his images. I don't know why. They were just contrastier, easier to color grade. I could get the colors exactly how I wanted, and I couldn't really do that on Canon. And that was the big reason why I left Canon. I just wasn't happy with the image quality. So I ended up on Fuji, and Fuji was really good. It gave me a great image straight out of camera, and the images were very easy to edit, and for landscape photography, it looked great, just flat out. However, for other things, I tended to miss the full frame look. So, for example, when I picked up this camera and shot 2.8, I was like, look at that depth of field! And it was better than the depth of field I got on a 1.4 lens on Fuji. That's just the nature of the beast when you shoot full frame versus crop sensor. It is what it is. But I missed full frame, and this full frame look, much better. Now, I'm shooting on the A7IV, and spec for spec, the XH2S that I had beats the A7IV. Like, it has 6K open gate recording, Blackmagic RAW, regular RAW, 4K 120, 4K 60, uncropped, the works. This doesn't. It has 4K 60 with a crop, but for me, it's not that big of a deal because if I'm shooting 60 frames per second, it's for B-roll, and if I'm shooting B-roll, it's gonna be a little bit more compressed anyways. I'm gonna use a longer focal length, and it doesn't really matter that there's a crop. But why would I not want to have a future-proof system on Fuji, like if it beats it spec for spec? Well, I'm working with more people that shoot Sony, and it makes sense to have this camera to color match and color grade because the colors just, they're incredible. I love Sony images. I just didn't like the bodies. But it makes sense to color match my images. Plus, I really do like Sony cinema cameras. The more work I'm doing and the more clients I'm building, the more I need a dedicated cinema camera. So it makes sense just to have Sony glass and then just rent a cinema camera from Sony, pop my own glass on it. I already know the menu system. I can already color grade. I already have my A7IV for a B cam and it matches. So it just makes sense in that regard. Now, some of the things I didn't like about Sony before, and the reasons I talked a lot of mess, is the menu systems, the ergonomics. You guys already know I like the images. So with ergonomics, like I said, I went out shooting with that guy before where he had the A7 III. I used it and I hated it. I wasn't a fan. And then I worked a corporate product photography gig that provided me a Sony A7 III to use with the kit lens. And well, the kit lens is trash. And then just having the A7 III day in, day out, I hated it. The ergonomics didn't fit my hand. The menu system was terrible. I hated not having the flippy screen, and the A7 IV literally solves all that. Grip is chunkier, the menu system is better. There's the flippy screen. The dials are nice and responsive. Everything in this camera is much more refined. I do, however, still think that the Canon R6 and R5 are my preferred bodies. I really did like the way that the Canon bodies felt. I like the way they look, but this is a very close second, and I do think it's better than the XH2S. Not by much, because that's a really good body, but I do think it is better. Now, in terms of glass, I got the 24-70 G Master version 2, and this lens is probably the best lens I've ever owned. And it's crazy to say that, because I really did think the RF glass was the best on the market, which it still is, but this lens just has a look to it. And I'm gonna throw some images up on the screen, but it just looks so good. It's super sharp, super contrasty, has a lot of character, and 24-70 is just versatile focal length. But this one's smaller and lighter than the RF version, which I did previously own. And I don't know, it's just a really good lens. Now, the other lens I do have is the 70-200 GM version 2, also version 2. You can tell by the little aperture ring. Now, this is an odd lens for me. So I had the RF 70-200, and it was smaller. So it was about 3/4 of the size of this, which is great for packing it in your camera bag. It was very convenient. However, when you went to go zoom, it would extend. This one doesn't. It's internal zooming, so all the magic happens on the inside. So it's a little bit longer. So even though this is a longer lens, physically bigger, it's lighter. Like, this thing is like a feather. So it's kind of odd. It's slightly bigger than the RF version, but lighter. And this one also has incredible image quality. Super sharp, autofocus is great. The works, same thing as the 24-70 G Master version 2. I like it a lot. I do think that the RF Canon 70-200 is probably my favorite lens of all time, and I'm gonna stick to that just because the size of it with the zoom and the look, it was magical. And I worked so hard to get that lens. It was an experience, and I love that lens so much, and that's always gonna have a special place in my heart. But this is a close second. This is a very, very good lens. I love it a lot, and it still fits in my camera bag, so size really isn't that big of a deal. With Fuji, I didn't really have the same experience, and I missed having this type of lens on Fuji. And I know they had a 50-140, which is the equivalent of this, but that just wasn't for me, so I picked up a 70-300 on Fuji, and it was a variable aperture. It got good images, it got a lot of reach. Having a 70-200 2.8 is just a special experience, and I loved it. So yeah, I'm glad to have this lens. All in all, I'm super happy being on Sony. I really didn't think I would be, but I think with all the pros of image quality that I really, really love, and this new and improved body, plus I'm future-proofing myself by having glass that I can use on the cinema line. It just makes a lot of sense for myself creatively, for my career. And I talked a lot of mess about Sony, but something that stayed true is I loved the image quality. I loved the way the video looked. I loved the way the photos looked. And having this camera and shooting photos with it and just having that look that I've always wanted, is just indispensable for me. So this is a better tool for me. Not saying Canon isn't a good tool, not saying Fuji wasn't a good tool, because they're all good for different purposes, but I always had an issue and I always just missed that look that I tried to achieve. And Sony gives me that look. It's that kind of moody, kind of artsy look, and I couldn't achieve that on Canon. I got close and the image quality fell apart. Wasn't happy with it. Went to Fuji and it was a very artsy contemporary look and I was super happy with that. It looked awesome. But it missed that character that I personally have in my style. Sony has that, and it took me so long, and I probably should have went from Canon to Sony, but here we are. I finally made my way, and I'm an alpha shooter. I'm very happy with this. So here's to big things to come, hopefully big projects, big career moves, big creative flow. I'm still gonna figure out my YouTube angle. I don't know if this is where I wanna film myself or whatnot. We're gonna figure it out as we go, but I have lots more videos in the works. I have a camera bag video. I have a desk setup video. I have lots of things scripted that I need to film, and I'm gonna get back on this train. So, hope you guys stay present with me. Thank you guys for being patient over the last few months. And if you wanna support me, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon wherever all this stuff is. I'd appreciate it. Do what you wanna do though. So, thanks again. Here's some more videos and getting back on this train. Cheers.